got to know over a few years, I always wondered what this person did. Because I saw direct deposits. Right? And one day, I just was sick and tired of like being curious. And I finally said, "What do you do, Mr. Mike Mazer?" And he goes, "It's funny you ask. Do you look at other ways of making money?" Can I do what you do? Yes. Well, my brother Patrick is who you got to talk to. Great, Mike, I don't want to talk to you no more. I want to talk to your brother Patrick. Right? So took a look at the opportunity, was a complete blessing, came to an event just like this, and just saw successful people, average, ordinary people become very successful, right? How many of you guys just saw Jeannie and Presley Swaggerty, a basketball coach? Right? A basketball coach. Right? You don't have to be a very influential person. You just got to create drive. You just got to put the work in. Can we agree? Anything in life requires work.
Yes.
Right? So you just got to put the work in. So my job here today is to talk about the 4 phases in ACN or in this industry in general, in this business in general. Now, guys, here's what I can share with you guys. Keep the main thing the main thing. There's only 2 things we're required to do in ACN. Number 1, acquire new business partners. Number 2, acquire new customers. Everybody say with me. Number 1. Number 2.
New customers.
Number 1.
Business partners.
Number 2.
Customers.
See, that is the only thing that is important in ACN. Those are income producing activities. Right? Utilize a system. Presley just went through the system that you guys saw. Have a meeting, go to a training, come to know. Utilize a system to generate IBOs, independent business owners, and acquire customers. So keep the main thing the main thing. Don't change it. Okay? Now, the 4 phases in our business are very, very simple. Phase 1 solves all problems. I'm going to say it again. Phase 1 solves all problems in this business. That's when you're the most active. That's what creates momentum. That's when you first get started in ACN and you do the work that you did day one, week 1, first hour. And what is that? Making a list. Calling people, inviting them to a Zoom call so you could have either A, business partners, or B, customers. See, that's what creates momentum. Now, some people tend to go in phase 2. You could be in ETLs, you could be in RVP, SVPs. People do end up going into phase 2. It happens. It's normal. That's when you become, I call it decreased momentum. That's when you call the people on a team and figure out what's going on. Right? And then people tend to go to phase 3. What's phase 3? That's management mode. That's calling your leaders, finding out if they called their new IBOs and, hey, did you get that person qualified? It's not getting to management mode. See, guys, it's one thing. If it's up to B, it's up to me. Yes or no? Right? So management mode becomes no momentum. Then eventually you go into phase 4. Now what's phase 4? It's the managers. You're managing the managers that are managing the managers that are managing the managers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You're calling the ETLs to find out what their ETLs are doing, to find out what their ETLs are doing, to find out their ETLs are doing, to find out what their RCs are doing. Does that make sense? Now this now becomes a blame game. What is a blame game? Why didn't you do this? Now who's the only person you got to look at in the mirror? Yourself. So if you want to get something accomplished, what do you got to do? You got to do it yourself. So if you want to help somebody book a meeting, guess what you should do?
Book it.
Call that new person up and book a meeting. Right or wrong? Yes. Right? So you want to always stay in phase 1. That's where the most activity is. Right? That's where the most amount of activity is. Now, count what counts. Keep yourself accountable. Keep your team accountable. See, on the left side, I call that busy work. I call that phase 2. So if you look on the left side of the screen, it says takes time. It's checking your website. You realize your website doesn't change, right? It only changes when they add a service. Yes? Organizing documents. Planning. How many of you guys check your back office? Multiple times in a day. You guys realize it only updates twice a day? That's busy work. That's non-productive work. See, phase 2 is preparing to prepare to prepare to prepare. To prepare. And you never get into the action stage. which I call production, which I call income producing activities. To the right side, which is not busy work, it's called time wisely spent. What is that? Calling and enrolling new customers. Booking Zoom meetings so you can have new IBOs come in your business. Doing Zoom meetings, right? Doing launches, qualifying IBOs, not only making sure you come to the event, but bringing people with you to the event. See, those are all phase one activity. See, that's where you want to be. What did I say? All problems solved by phase one activities. If there's no momentum, guess who's up to create momentum? You. That means you should go out there, find somebody, talk to them. You heard Jeannie talk to somebody, yes or no? Invite them to a training, and literally, like Pressy said, she took the credit for going platinum. Right? How many of you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So at the end of the day, you just gotta go out there and just create momentum yourself. If it's up to me, it's up to me. Right? So you want to make sure you go out there and create momentum. If they say no, make them a customer. See, that's still doing phase one activity. Does that make sense? So do productive work, not busy work. See, your significant other always going to complain and say, "Well, you're always on your computer." Anybody say that to you?
Oh yeah.
You're always working.
Oh yeah.
How do you guys get frustrated? Anybody get frustrated when they say that? Now, gentlemen, ladies, how many of you guys are doing busy work? Yes? Now, how many of you guys agree if you were doing productive work,
It'd be different.
that'd be income will be coming in, your significant other would not be saying those things? Okay, there's checks coming in the mailbox every single week. I'm not complaining. Right? Guys, at the end of the day, see, most people think motivation comes first, activity comes second. Emotion doesn't create action, actions create emotion. I'm gonna give you guys an example. Now, you guys go to the gym? January 1st coming around the corner. How many of you guys are gonna make it a goal to lose weight? Yes? That's been my goal for the last 3 years. I haven't been able to accomplish it.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, see, emotion, what I'm trying to say is, when you do the activity, right? Activity creates excitement. So imagine going to the gym. I mean, I follow Efren on Instagram, right? And he goes to the gym and he'll put some videos out on doing bench presses and tricep pull downs. And then I see him going to the locker room and he'll start taking pictures of his progress, putting Tupac videos on, like, oh, look at my abs, all right, look at my triceps. How many of you guys agree he's addicted? He's motivated because of the action he did to create the emotion of excitement, yes or no? Ladies, leg days, glutes, yes? And then you go where? And then what do you guys do? Go to the bathroom, in the locker room, and do what? Booty pop, right? What do you guys know what I'm talking about? But it's the action you did. You actually went out, you did the work first in order to see the results, yes or no?
Yes.
How many of you guys get excited when you get a new rep? How many of you guys get excited when you get a new IBO? How many of you guys excited when you get a new a person qualified? Can we agree that takes activity? Yes or no? That takes action. Yes. And the action creates emotion. Yes or no? Yes. So everything here, you gotta be active. You gotta take action. Action. How many of you guys can tell always when somebody's in momentum and somebody's not in momentum? Right? Yes or no? You can tell. There's a bit. Why? Because people are working and there's people not working. There's people in phase one and there's people in phase 2, 3, and 4. You can see a clear difference between phase 1 and phase 2, 3, and 4. Right? So guys, focus on leadership. Lead by example. Right? Lead by example. If you do what you do, everybody else will do what they do. It's funny, this morning I was driving. We were at a red light. I happened to run into Jeff and Melissa Street right next to me. I honked the horn. They're like, oh, I'm like, hi. And we're on our way here, right? Funny story. I drive past. She comes behind me, right? Now, I'm on my way to pick Monty up. But she thinks I'm going where? To come here, right? Unconsciously, she follows me to go pick up money. Because she thinks I'm going where? Here. So guess what your IBOs are doing? Same concept, yes or no? They're going to do exactly what you do. Now, and then I remember literally seeing her taking a U-turn, probably saying to herself, what am I doing? Does that make sense? I'm like, I wonder where she's going. Right? You follow what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, lead by example. See, your team's going to do exactly what you do. If you're out there recruiting, guess what your team's going to do? If you're out there getting customers, guess what your team's going to do? Get customers, right or wrong. They're going to keep the main thing the main thing. All right, guys, at the end of the day, ask yourself, what kind of business would my business be if everybody in it worked it just like me? If you looked at your back office every single day and everybody else in your team looked at the back office, what kind of business would you have? But if you were out there personally recruiting, getting customers and doing what phase one activity looks like, how much momentum would your team have? Yes or no?
Yes.
So phase one activity is very, very simple. If you take a look, make a list, practice a script, invite, invite, invite. Guys, your no's are your customers. Yes? Peaking a new customer, an IBO, acquiring new customers, launching a new business partner, and confirmation list of Zoom meetings and events. These are all phase one activities. This is where you always want to be in ACN, right here. Right here. This is where you always want to be. Now, the only difference when you realize you're in phase two, come back to phase one. When you realize you're in phase three, just come back to phase one. When you realize you're in phase four, just come back to phase one. Does that make sense? Yes. All problems are solved in phase one activities. Okay? Now, who to recruit? Now, when I first got started in ACN, I made a list. And I was 22 years old when I first got started, right? I lived in New York, so 22-year-old kid, right? Balling on a budget. Let's go over to New York City and think, okay, I'm gonna go clubbing, right? At the end of the day. So guess who I hung out with? People that like to go out and have fun and do what they do, yes or no? My friends, because you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, yes? Mm-hmm. So when I first got started in ACN, guess who my first 5, 10 people were? Partiers. Balling on a budget just like me, right? So guess what? I called my friends up and I kept telling them to come to a meeting. They're like, Harsh, you're doing a business. Don't you have a job? I'm like, yeah. Okay, so why are you doing a business? That's too complicated. And I was recruiting down. I called my best friend Carlos up. I'm like, dude, why don't you come take a look at this? He goes, nah, man, what are we doing Thursday night? He's like, it's Thursdays. You want me to come to your meeting at your house on Thursday when we go out clubbing in New York? I'm like, and I called my best friend Charlie. Now Charlie actually took a look at it. He's like, this makes sense. Right? But didn't really do much after that. Guess what I was doing? I was recruiting down. Then I thought my uncle, who was unemployed for 3 years, I'm like, he might need an opportunity. Let me call him to my meeting. Came out and he was telling me reasons why not to do this. He's like, you shouldn't do this. I'm like, why not? I'm like, what should I do? And I was recruiting down. Does that make sense? Now, I remember doing a bunch of meetings and Mike Major said, why don't you do this real quick? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, every single person you meet, ask them this question. Who do you look up to? I said, I could ask that. He's like, who's the most influential people you know? I said, I could ask that question. So I remember meeting people, out there, and I was like, wait, hey, nice to meet you. Do you look at other ways of making money? Yeah? Fantastic. And I was showing the presentation. If they would tell me, I'm like, okay, it's not for you, but who do you look up to? Who's the most influential person? You mind sharing their contact information with me? I remember going to a pizzeria in Nyack, New York. I met a guy named Alan, right? He took a look at the opportunity. He's like, okay, this is, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I said, hey, listen, who's the most influential person you know? He goes, well, my broker's very influential. He pretty much runs Wild Finger Falls. I'm like, great, I want to meet him. And he was one of the top, he was the Century 21 broker of all of New York, had over 700 agents. Now, could you agree he's power of influence, yes or no? Yes? He took a look, I went to go meet him in person, took a look at the opportunity, came into the business, had a meeting the first time, right? Had a meeting for the first time, there's 15 people there. Mike Baser, thank God, came and presented for me. Okay, Mike Baser did the presentation, at the end of the day, all 15 signed up. And then we had a few more meetings, and then guess what happened? And I remember doing another meeting for Joe. His name's Joe. He's an RD in my business. Guess what? He introduced me to a gentleman named Michael Eric. Now, you guys know Michael Eric, Mr. Excitement. Maybe you guys know him? Yeah? Yeah, he finished #2 RVP in the whole company last month for Team Trainer Production. Came from a person of influence. And I remember about a year ago, Michael was doing meetings, and he ran across a professional in network marketing. She had 30 years experience. She's forgotten more in network marketing than I know. And she got involved in the business, went RD in less than 4 months because she had experience in the industry. Her name's Denise Blevin. She's right here. Let's give her a round of applause.
Yeah.
Right? Could we agree? Influence, 30 years of experience. Then she had a bunch of meetings that we met a doctor. How many of you guys agree doctors are influential? And when the doctor took a look at impact, she goes, this makes all the sense in the world. And she was a number 3 RC in the whole company last month. Dr. Hill, you guys just saw her go RC. Person of influence. And then we had a few more meetings, and then I remember Sammy coming into the business. Sammy was from Tennessee. And Sammy introduced us to a bunch of people like Tammy. Guys, I met Tammy in Vegas in 2019. I got a text message. I'm like, Tammy Allen. Why is she saved in my phone book? Now I literally remember me meeting her in the elevator at a conference. But it took Sammy to do the presentation for her to get the business. She went ETL in less than 48 hours and put 7 people in her business within the first 48 hours. Right? And I remember moving to Texas, and I didn't know anybody here, and I'm 24 years old trying to figure out, all right, I'm moving to Texas. I don't know what's going on. How am I going to meet people? Do I just go up to somebody and say, hey, nice shoes, what do you do, right? Like, I'm like, what do I do? And I remember coming to Texas, now I'm 24 years old, right? I'm Jersey born and raised, right? Now, I come to Texas trying to figure this thing out. And I remember going to a bakery, I'm on the phone with somebody, my car's on, and this random person is like looking at my car. And I'm in Texas and I'm scared. Because you guys open carry here, and I'm not used to it. All right? So I'm like, either A, I'm gonna get shot, or I should start driving away. But thank God he walked inside. I got finished with my phone calls. I was at a bakery. It's like literally 15 minutes from here. He comes back out. I'm like, dude, you scared me. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, you were doing circles around my car. I thought you were gonna shoot me. And he starts laughing. I'm like, well, what do you do? He's like, I'm a broker. I'm like, oh, a real estate broker? He goes, yeah. I'm like, that's fantastic. Do you look at all ways of making money? He goes, uh-huh. Show the presentation. He goes, this makes sense. I'm like, well, who's the most influential person you know? He's like, well, I got this guy, his name's Monty. He does really well in the trucking business. I'm like, fantastic. Can I meet him? Sat down with Monty, right? I remember sitting down with Monty. Monty signs up in the business, comes in, and just has tremendous success. He's literally 400 points away from RVP. And then Monty started doing meetings, and I remember him introducing me to somebody. Now, he met a realtor that was not interested, right? And here's what the crazy thing happened. He goes, well, who's your sponsor over there at Real? He goes, well, this guy named Matt. He's really crazy. I'm like, that's the guy I want to meet, the crazy guy. And I remember literally meeting Matt that day. Guess what happened? Matt came into business, and guess what? 54 days later, he went RD, put over 110 people in his first 30 days of the business. Because he was a person of influence. So who should you recruit? Not Matt, but yeah, you know what I mean? Right? He's already in the business. But the point I'm making is you guys should recruit up. Yes or no? Recruit power of influence, people of influence. The more successful they are, the quicker they make decisions. I love them. And they bring their influence with them. It's just so much easier to build. Yes? So guys, write your goals down. Very simple. Write your goals down. How many people are you going to present to on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis? Write your goals down. How many new IPOs do you want that acquire customers on a week-to-week basis and beyond? Guys, this is a numbers game. I want you guys to realize this. It's no different than baseball. How many of you guys agree they get paid millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to hit the ball 3 out of 10 times? Yes? So if you do the presentation 10 times and 3 people sign up, guess what? You're on your way. Now, don't get stuck on the first person that tells you no. Yes?
Yes.
So write your goals down. It's a numbers game. Just stay in phase 1, right? Ask yourself every single day, is what I'm about to do moment by moment leading me towards my goal or walking away from my goal and pick? Guys, just go out there and just do normal phase 1 activities. I promise you, you'll walk the stage, you'll do what's necessary, you'll change your family's future if you just do phase 1 activities. What are you going to do?
Phase 1 activity.
What are you going to do?
Phase 1 activity.
What are you going to do?
Phase 1 activity.
Guys, I'll see you guys in California. Have a great day.